In this video, I'll be talking about cults and how they influence people. The information on cults is split into three parts: cult psychology, cult tactics, and cult control. After, we can apply cult behavior and see what it makes of SJWs. Now let's get started and talk about cult psychology. When you look at a cult, one of the most important things is the cult's doctrine. Cult doctrine is always considered to be the absolute truth. The doctrine covers every member, and all are expected to follow it completely, even if they don't understand the contents of the doctrine. Hoffer wrote The True Believer. He is also one of the most important thinkers of the 20th century. He focused on mass movements. Hoffer said that the best cult doctrines are unverifiable and unevaluable. This means that the doctrines cannot be proven or disproven. They have to be completely accepted based on gut instincts and faith. The whole point of cult psychology is to get a person to lose trust with themselves, to develop a new identity that is one with the doctrine that controls all thought, feelings, and actions. The interesting thing is that all this doesn't need to be in the presence of a cult group leader to know what to do at a given time. The program tells the person how they should act, think, and feel. This in turn satisfies the cult leader in the process. Cults generally reduce subjects to black and white views or good versus evil type of mindset. Different variations of thought on a topic are not allowed whatsoever. A cult claims to have the ultimate truth. That would mean every other group is therefore wrong. This leads to the us versus them type of mentality. You are considered to be with the group or you're an outsider. This explains how group members end up distancing themselves from family and friends. They are made to believe that outsiders are a bad influence and stop them from growing and developing in some way. The cult psychology of black and white thinking also branches to many other areas. You are a fully committed member or you're not. You accept everything the leader says or not. You are liberated or you're not. There is no room for thought outside of these boundaries. This is how powerful the manipulation is. If we look at destructive cults, they seem very weird or strange in the fact that every member seems to have a common habit or behavior. They may have their own way of speaking or might all dress the same. The reason is that the cult members believe that they should model after their cult leader or the higher-ups in the group. Even the higher people in the cult model after their cult leader. The members of the cult want to show they are loyal and obedient. These two traits are highly regarded in destructive cults. Emulating their leader is a way for the members to show they have these values. Most often, members just don't want to be like the leader. They want to actually be the person itself, or have a role in leadership. But very few members do this. The members are advised to give up who they are in order to be someone else. That is why it is often said that cult members are not the same as they used to be. There's a term called pseudo-identity or pseudo-personality. The term pseudo means false, pretend, unreal, closely or deceptively resembling. Edgar Schein is an interesting man to look up. He described the forced conversion as a three-stage process. Step 1 would be the unfreezing of the identity. This would be breaking the person down. Step 2 would be the changing process, or known as the indoctrination process. Step 3 would be reinforcing the new identity. There are many techniques to be used in this process, but be in mind that the process occurs over time. The end result is the intended purpose of making a clone of the cult leader. The cult psychology is that of the leader, and the leader wants people to be devoted to the leader. When it comes to family and friends, they notice radical changes in the person. This is because the fake identity is designed to defend itself. Arguing with logic and reason is pointless because it only isolates the person further. Most often in destructive groups, they are taught that family and friends will never understand and are not enlightened enough on the ways of the cult. When family and friends try to involve themselves with the indoctrinated person, the fake identity takes over, making the person very hard to reason with. But luckily, with expert care, the effective cult psychology can usually be fixed. Now I'm going to list some cult contradictions. They exist in how destructive cults work. The cult contradictions are usually a product of the leader's own thinking and used by cult leaders to justify their actions and to manipulate the members of the cult. Many cults offer freedom in a variety of different forms: financial freedom, freedom from sin, and personal freedom, just to name a few. Freedom is one of the first things the people from the cult lose. They lose the freedom to think for themselves, the freedom to do what they want, where they can go, and can lose the freedom of relationships. The bizarre thing is, the members of the cult feel like they have never been so free in their lives. Now that is obviously because they've been brainwashed. Usually, cults offer the ultimate truth. They have the absolute way, the perfect knowledge, and the correct way of living. The leader makes the people think that they are a person with great knowledge that is willing to share with the followers. The ideas of the leader are an invention of other ideas. That is to say, they are frequent lies. Another aspect is the fact that cult members are expected to be honest and open to other members and the leaders. They are also told that lying to outsiders to recruit other members and collect funds is okay to do. Members of the destructive cult believe they are elite. They think they have knowledge or heightened abilities that outsiders do not. This in a sense makes them feel more special and unique than people not in their group. Members of a destructive cult usually believe they are invulnerable of the outside world and that those rules don't apply to them. They think they are healthy and cannot be touched by illness. They think they can overcome any situation better than outsiders. They also believe they can take more risks than before and that nothing will happen to them as a result. The reality is that they are more vulnerable than ever. They are so vulnerable, they will do anything the leader says to do and will follow every command. Criticism is another cult contradiction. The leaders of the cult are very critical of outsiders. Since the cult claims to have the absolute truth, using that logic, that would mean they are right and all other groups are wrong. Criticism can also be a result of paranoia of the leader. The cult leader or leaders will be critical of group members as a way to control them and to get them to do more for the group. The thing is, criticism cannot be directed at the leaders. It is not allowed. If there is any criticism from members, it is directed to outsiders. Now there are more contradictions, such as control over their lives, treatment as family, competition between members in which they are rewarded for making them work harder, and the idea that they are saving the world. Now keep in mind that not all cults get all of these contradictions, and some only happen to certain groups. When it comes down to it, the doctrine of cults creates impossibilities that members are insisted on trying to obtain. Now, of course, the members don't see them as impossibilities. Usually the leader claims they already have these abilities, and they just want the members to be as good as them. For example, working without emotions, never making judgments, and never breaking the rules. Notice how these objectives are oversimplified and are a vague way of thinking. Another form is to use double blinds. In this method, you are always wrong. Two opposing messages are given. If you only follow one of them, you are disobeying the other. The leader urges that both must be obeyed at the same time. This in turn gets members caught in a closed loop. This makes manipulators able to create confusion and guilt, which will allow control and dependency over the members. For example, a member may not be able to choose between two different solutions, and therefore has to ask the leader for help, which in doing so makes the member dependent on the leader for the answers. In some cults, members learn how to access a certain state in which they can experience all the emotions. If they experience negative emotions, they are not in the right state. Usually, negative emotions are not welcome in cults, especially towards the leaders. If they have negative feelings, it is mostly directed at outsiders. In other cults, they teach members to be more independent, but when the members do things on their own, they get punished. This could mean isolation, to not being allowed to talk to the leader. There are also ways that are more unnoticeable, like making the members think they are making their own decisions, but in actuality, they are pushed closer to the doctrine and mindset of the fake identity. If they do not use the model of thinking given to them, they get punished. If they use the model, they get sucked into the cult. So either way, they lose. Now keep in mind that the aspects of cult psychology cannot occur in isolation. There is always constant stacking of ideas and other things applied, and all of which can be applied in different ways depending on the cult and the leader. Now if you start to think about it, you can see the pressures the cult psychology applies to its members. Now there may not be physical force directed at the members. That is to show how powerful these tactics are, even to the extent that members may not notice what is happening. I think all of their decisions are that of their own. Now that we have gone through understanding cult psychology, let's look at the second part, cult tactics. There are common tactics that cults use. First is the manipulation through fear and guilt. Fear and guilt are important to create change in the members and is perfect for mind control. A person thinking out of fear is a person that can't think critically and makes their ability weakened. Cults want to induce fear and phobias to group members. This makes the leadership able to keep control. They get members to believe something bad is going to happen to them if they don't follow the rules, earn money for the cult, and it can prevent them from wanting to leave. It can be introduced in many ways. The members can feel guilt for their mistakes, weaknesses, weak faith to the cult, and unable to understand the doctrine. In fact, the leadership is directly in charge of what the members should feel guilty about. If you add fear and guilt, you will eventually get dependency. the members will eventually fully depend on the leader to figure out who they are and what they should be doing. Another tactic is emotional highs and lows. That pretty much makes the members feel great about themselves, like learning the ultimate knowledge and having exercises to boost a feel-good feeling. Then there are the lows. This comes from feeling a lack of abilities, punishments, not following the rules, and a combination of feeling guilt and shame will wear the member down. This makes it hard for them to make logical decisions when they are having this emotional overload. Another cult tactic is to use loaded language. This can be simplified into 5 main points. Number 1, the group members feel that they are understood because they all use the same words. This generates friendship among the members. Number 2, new members often feel left out and usually want to fit in, so they want to learn the cult words. In doing so, it leads them deeper into the mindset of the cult. Number 3, group situations are often kept to a few words. This shuts down critical thinking of the members. Number 4, the word and phrases can dictate how people should act in different situations without having to make decisions. For example, a phrase can be used to mean all elders are right. So if there were any disagreements, the phrase will sort things out. Lastly, number 5, the selected words and phrases eventually become second nature to the members. This may make talking to outsiders feel a bit awkward, which keeps members stuck inside the cult and keeps the members from listening to outsiders. Since the members think they are saving the world, they think that lying, cheating, and deceiving others for money is therefore justified. If we look at the leaders themselves, we will find that many of them are psychopaths that have no empathy, guilt, or remorse for what they are doing. The cult leaders are narcissistic in nature and will do whatever they would like without any consideration of the members' well-being. That is why they are fixated on creating clones of themselves. Now we move on to our final part, cult control, and how it happens. The first type of control is group domination of an individual. The group always comes first. Members lose trust in themselves and then trust the leader. They lose priority of their own self-meaning and look forward to policing their group and their leader. Another type of control is a feeling of community. When a new member joins the cult for the first time, they see happiness in all the members. When that same member is indoctrinated, they learn the sense of belonging to the group depends only on good behavior. If the member breaks the rules, they will find out that all members of the cult will shun the member. The cult members feel that they have never been closer to anyone in their life, but that is far from true. In reality, there is little talk about the group member's past. If a member leaves the group, the current members tend to forget who the person was, because all the members really knew about the person was just a fake identity. Another reaction to a person leaving is the members could show anger, frustration, and hate towards them, which all of these feelings are encouraged by the leaders. So much for a close bonded community. They apparently love you for one moment, and instantly call you a traitor the next. Another form of control is changing the sense of time in members. Usually this makes members distance themselves from the past and amplifies negative emotions. When ex-cult members are asked to talk about their past, they usually say their memory is sort of blurred and vague. Cult members are told to think about the present. The reason is to keep them from thinking, and so they can work on what they're currently doing so they have the chance to save the world. The future is a time where the member will be rewarded or punished. The cult leader usually claims to see the future. That way they can manipulate and stay in control. The last part of cult control is that there are no exits. Destructive cults use tactics to induce fear of leaving the group. Members believe they or their family will die if they leave the cult. The cult leader will say they are free to leave, but in reality, that is further from the truth. They believe leaving the cult is a sign of weakness, and that they are not ready to learn. If we add they are committed to their beliefs, and the fact they may have broken all connections with friends and family, and are dependent on the group, which makes it extremely hard to leave the group. In fact, there is a saying that people don't just stay in cults, they just keep putting off the decision to leave. Now that we know the basics about cult behavior, we can now apply cult mentality on the SJWs to further understand how they think. But before we do that, let's look at the mind of an SJW by studies by Jordan Peterson. In his studies, he and his group found that SJWs can be categorized in 2 distinct groups, the politically correct authoritarians and the PC egalitarians. The PC authoritarians are people that need all rules to be clearly black and white. The problem with that is, not every issue has a clear two-sided answer to come along with it. It wouldn't come to much surprise now that the political left authoritarians exist, but that wasn't always the case. In the Frankfurt School, they openly denied that the far-left authoritarianism could exist, but that isn't the case anymore. It most definitely exists. The left authoritarians only want to help groups of people they think are in distress and want to force order in society. Studies have shown that these are the people that have low verbal cognitive ability. These are the people that are mindlessly rioting and causing chaos for no clear purpose. Studies also show that politically correct lectures at colleges and universities are breeding more brainwashed SJWs. Now that one is a no-brainer. If we move on to PC egalitarians, they are a bit different. PC egalitarians have a high verbal cognitive ability. All cognitive ability means is that they have better speaking skills than the PC authoritarians. PC egalitarians have high compassion for people in distress, meaning they see PC authoritarians as victims. An example of a PC egalitarian is a women's studies professor. PC egalitarians are more open and vocal. When they see distress, they feel the need to justify that the PC authoritarians must be right, because they think they are being oppressed. The compassion we see in PC egalitarians is most definitely like maternal behavior towards infants. So you can imagine that infants are never wrong for a parent. So taking that logic, an infant in distress must be helped even though it goes against the logic that the infant could have did something wrong. That is the reason people on the political right are treated as kids. Now this, in effect, is like an overprotective mother. What happens is, the mother destroys the link between the infant and reality. The thing about SJWs is the fact they have trouble escaping the mother and infant mentality. Their independence is never established. They are instead left in an independent state, trapped in a family-like element. Now obviously this is a major problem. The overprotective mother scenario can't work because the people they want to treat are not infants. The overprotective mother can only work on infants, not grown adults and minorities. The claim that all lower classes are being oppressed and all high classes of hierarchy are the oppressors is just not true. There are people that fit in those categories, but overall, it is just a radical overstatement of the issue. In reality, a lot of PC egalitarians just want to feel like they matter in life, and they will ignore all logic and reason to live out their fictional goals. If we apply that what we have learned from cult behavior, we will find out that the SJWs as a group are most definitely a type of cult. The SJWs have a made-up purpose of thinking they are saving the world. The SJWs have their own version of leaders to look up to. The SJWs have a collective community that rewards people by making them feel like they belong. The SJWs have a doctrine called political correctness. They also punish their own members for leaving by calling them racist Nazis. The SJWs only believe that they have the answers to the world's problems, and anything not in their guideline and rules are therefore wrong. Going by the violence and riots of the SJWs, it is safe to say they are a destructive cult. They are so indoctrinated that logic and reason don't work on them. They don't see it in their politically correct doctrine. Just like members of a cult, it is extremely hard to get them to snap out of their mind-controlled state. Now taking this knowledge in mind, I feel a bit bad for some of the SJWs. There are also a lot of SJWs I don't feel bad for, but overall, they are helplessly trapped, and it seems no matter how hard we try to show them the light, they just can't see. Learning about cult mentality has changed my mind in some sense. It isn't just SJW stupidity that makes them who they are, it is deeper than that. Thanks for watching. I was wondering if you guys like this sort of video style. Let me know what you think. I also have a question for you guys. Have you ever had a cult-like experience before? Feel free to talk about it in the comment section below. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.